was talking. I'll just edit that gap out. But for those of you listening live, you got a little dead air. My apologies. We've had plenty of dead air in the past. No reason to stop. It's an important feature of this program.
I think we're actually managing quite smoothly here this
Things have
morning.
gone very well up until the last 2 minutes. Yes.
Yeah, everything's humming right along. And we are, after all, lovable amateurs.
Well,
Microsoft used to do that all the time. That someone would identify a bug. Instead of fixing the bug, they found it was cheaper to list it as a feature on the box. It was a new feature. They did that several times.
Well, we have a lot of features.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
So,
now with dead air.
I'll forget that. Now, Rock Talk. Now with dead air. Okay. So anyway, what do we got left?
Padding time for thought.
That's right. We were pondering.
And again, a call for
how best to
a call for anybody who knows how the legislative assistants,
legislative
services department get appointed, selected, employed.
Who packs that cabal, huh?
Exactly. At 603-715-9689. That's the number for Grok Talk.
You can always email us or text us or whatever if you know the answer. Facebook, Twitter, Granite Rock. Send us a message. Send us a link. Anything.
I was looking at the commentary on that Richardson case, and it was almost 100% in favor of what the hell were those jurors thinking? Mm-hmm. You know, how do you get 4 people looking at all that video? It's video from 9 different angles showing him pulling the kid out of the cell, taking him down the hallway, slamming his head into the ground, picking him up, and then letting him kind of wander off and fall to the ground. And Mike Bergeron's in terrible condition. And then Adam Laurent walks right up to him, and he's smiling, and he sprays him right in the face. And you know what he said? He said he saw Richardson was going to pull his taser, that he'd pulled his taser out. Well, you look at the video, and the video shows he's not touching his taser. Richardson isn't touching his taser. Adam Laurent, who's now a former police officer, is suing the town of Seabrook for lost wages for being fired. Ironically, he was put on, one of the officers who was put on, paid, what do you call it?
Paid leave, paid
administrative leave, and
the
for
only
all
thing
the
he's
months,
administrating is a beer and some TV from the couch.
and he's gotten quite fat. He doesn't look like he's ever been a cop. You know the allegation that cops are all on steroids, or most of them are on steroids? Well, when you stop taking steroids, your muscles get flabby, your gut gets flabby. You still have these big muscles, but they're just immovable flab, and they're just in the way. Eventually they compact back down, but they're
steroids do make you angry.
Former steroid muscles, yes. Well, I happen to notice that both Adam Laurent and some of the other officers, former officers, was it 2 or 3 officers who were fired for this? Adam Laurent had those soft, flabby, formerly steroid muscles, and he got off the stand, and he was so tubby, and he was shorter than I remember. But it seems strange. He didn't look like Adam Laurent at all. He's got a strange kind of goatee going. He looks terrible. But he's put on some weight. He's pretty flabby now. You know, versus in the video from 2009, he looked very fit, and his muscles were hard, and he looked like he was in.
So when you're administrative leave, you don't get steroids?
Right.
Okay.
I think that's what happens. Now I talked to a guy who he sold steroid alternatives, and he knows guys who sell steroids, and they say their biggest customers are cops.
Mm-hmm. Well, that would be bad for the anger management problem.
Yes,
because even the over-counter ones, like the ones they advertise for everything from getting fit to your prostate to your ability to get an erection, all of this stuff, if you go research all this garbage, all of it, the commenters and everything talk about how it makes you angry, and these aren't necessarily steroids specifically, but you can get a serious case of roid rage without the roids, and that's not something you really want to have.
No, I mean some of this stuff. I mean, your blue pills or something closer to blood pressure medication.
Those are that's different. That's
but
for that.
But some of your other stuff that are actual steroids. And the stuff they use for allergies, which is steroid based as well, or for asthma, which is steroid based. They put on mass, and they do get angry.
It is a problem.
And we
if
were always taught to stay on that stuff for the least amount of time possible and get off it fast.
I was gonna, yeah.
If you had to take steroids for medicine,
Hmm.
the goal was to get off it as fast as possible before any long-term effects kicked in.
Correct, because there are uses, very, very valuable uses for short-term treatment, but you don't
Yeah.
want to be stuck. I was gonna say, why did anybody say to the jury, how would you feel if the cop, that was you, that the cops is treated that way, based on the video you just watched?
How
all
would you
the
feel if
behavior,
you're the cop
if
or
you were
you're
the
Mike
victim,
Richardson?
if you were Mike, if you were the one being thrown against the wall, pepper sprayed in the face?
I think that the prosecutor did say something like
Did
that.
it? Okay.
Now they spent a good deal of time. Judge Delker was the judge, the same judge for my case. Also, he was also working for the Attorney General's office. He was the prosecutor from the Chad Evans case, and he allowed a tremendous amount of arguing and debating, not just on cross-examination where usually anything goes, but he allowed arguing and debating on direct. So you'd have an attorney bringing witnesses up, and they're not debating, they're not discussing facts. What did you see? What did you hear? What did you experience? Well, wouldn't you agree with me that yada yada yada? And wouldn't you agree with me that that could be excessive force? And wouldn't you agree with me that some people yada yada yada? And I thought, that's not a trial at all. A trial is supposed to be a trial of facts.
Yeah, that's putting words in their mouths at the very least.
So
Leading
there's
the witness.
Well, it's worse than leading because these are issues of agreement that are supposed to be handled by a jury. In the old days of common law, the whole point of having a jury was, breaking the law, committing a criminal act. It wasn't just that you were doing something wrong, but that it was so horrible that no one even had to debate it, discuss it. If it's rape, it's murder, it's theft, it's such a horrible crime, it's such a horrible act against another human being that there's no discussion, there's no doubt about whether it's right or wrong. There's no question about it. You don't even have to have a law. In fact, we didn't have, statutes. We had common law. The courts interpreted natural law. We had the law, and there was actually a book called, quote, The Law, capital letters, and that was the law in New Hampshire.
Wasn't it, or was it?
No, it was just
Black.
laws that were maintained by the courts, and the state legislature, the general court had the authority to step in and supersede the law that was developed by the courts because they were in a superior position in New Hampshire. That's all changed because we've gone from common law to statutory law, in effect model penal code, which has its a whole host of problems. Not that common law was perfect, it was terrible for self-defense. But now the standard is the legislature can just make something up and make up a rule that has no basis, has nothing to do with anything.
The court system can just make up a rule. Everybody seems like they can make a rule up.
And of course, the administrative agencies can all make up
Make
rules.
up a rule, yeah. And then eventually, if anybody really gives a damn, you can spend your own money to fight the rule, and the court system in New Hampshire is against you.
And under common law, you had the harm principle. The prosecutor had to prove that you harmed someone else, and if you hadn't harmed anyone else, victimless crime, they couldn't enforce the law. In fact, I think they had to amend the Constitution because in some states they could not constitutionally maintain alcohol prohibition because their state constitutions, as interpreted by the courts, you couldn't have laws against just mere possession of alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
frankly, those laws, those constitutional restrictions should come back. Not that I'm in favor of people drunk or on pot, but mere possession shouldn't be a problem. It should never have been a problem for alcohol, and it shouldn't be a problem for anything else.
So there's one more bill coming out of criminal justice. It's SB 29. When I first looked at it, I thought, oh, that's the smallest issue ever. And all it says is that if you get a traffic ticket, now instead of having to appear in court, the police officer can just say, unless it's egregious, could just mail the thing in by mail or mail your dispute in by mail and not have to see a judge unless you're actually disputing it. The theory of SB 29 is that they don't want to clog up the district courts with a lot of unnecessary procedural stuff. If you ever sat down in a district court, they waste a tremendous amount of time dealing with procedural minutia and cases that shouldn't go in front of a judge. and both parties have to come in front of the district court judge because it's statutorily mandated or it's just part of the process, and they both have to come in, they kind of agree, and then they go on to the next step. So a lot of the money that's being spent by our judiciary is time wasted, and there's really nothing
Foreplay.
Right. Well, and post-play, and it's a lot of procedure. In fact, during the Richardson trial, they would have to start the trial at 10, because at 9 o'clock or even 8:30, they'd have to run an hour and a half of pre-trial hearings dealing with other cases. And most of the time of the courts is spent dealing with all of these pre-trial hearings and dealing with minutia and dealing with procedures and dealing with things that really have nothing to do with the actual trial. And it's a tremendous cost for the state, and judges have to come in and sit there for an hour and a half or 2 hours every morning dealing with, okay, yes, Your Honor, I've contacted the other guy, and we're waiting on their response, and this public defender has to be up in Stratham today because he's a dispute over ineffective assistance of counsel claim, yada, yada, yada. So that's using up a lot of time, and it's a lot of procedural stuff. SB 29, I think, is trying to address that. I'll have to read the actual bill before I vote on it, but it's not on the consent calendar, so it's one of those things that's going to be debated. In fact, I don't think that it was unanimously supported. Oh, it was unanimously supported. It was 15-0.
Oh, wow.
So, little time saver. They're doing their job.
That would be good. Now, if we can just find out how you get on legislative services. I'm serious. I don't expect anybody to call because.
Have we got a call yet?
No. We got 2 minutes to go.
And
let's put that on Granite Grok for next week's show, and ask somebody to call in and talk to us about it.
I will find somebody.
So, for the special election, Rio Tilton, he's a real conservative. He's a lifelong Republican. That election will be Tuesday, July 7th, and we need to get folks who are in the Seacoast area.
Lifelong 19-year-old Republican. Does that mean he's a Rush baby? He grew up listening to the right stuff?
I hope so.
He could be, yeah. There could be a lot of them, actually, because Rush has been on for
26 years.
26 years.
Nearly as long as I've been in the country.
Yeah.
So we need to get sign holders and people who live in the district, Hampton Falls and Seabrook.
This is the next major battle. We got past Yvonne Dean Bailey. They'll probably get nastier for this one, though. The Democrats want to win bad, and we don't want to give it to them.
So does that mean we get
another
opportunity to find a nasty Democrat operative and uncover another viper's nest of voters?
Could be.
Another Carl Gibson.
Could be. Maybe there is. If Carl Gibson Jr. is out there, we're going to find you. All right. 100th episode of Grog Talk is over. We'll be back next week. Reminder, the 13th, we will not have a program, but I'll see if something can go up anyway, just so there's something new for you to listen to. Thanks to everybody who was on the show today. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you.
All right.
Yeah, baby!